Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, it is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam show. If you're new to the show, welcome. This is a chance that we get to study every morning the sacred literature from India. This wisdom literature of India acts as like an internal compass to help protect us from the illusions of life, the pitfalls, the cliffs, the steep ravines, and apply spiritual truth to our life. So it becomes what we find quite addictive. We have an addictive group of 89 people on Zoom this morning, all waking up at 5 a.m. for some reason. It has to be slightly addictive if people are doing this. So some people are even at work and they're sneaking out to sort of put their computer on and play it like they're not doing anything, like playing like they're doing work. We know who you are. And then some people are Californians, and these guys are waking up at 2, setting alarms at 2 a.m, or they're staying up all night. Yes, we know who you are. And then some people are like in New Zealand or somewhere, and they're just like, oh no, it's like 2 p.m. Everything's good. There's no austerity involved there in New Zealand, but welcome. And, what's going on today, Kaustubha, is I am not living my truth. How about that? And it hurts to admit it, but I woke up this morning and I peered out the window and there was 3 inches of snow on the ground. And I'm a little bummed out because of it. And I know I shouldn't let my external affect my internal, but I'm a little cranky. What do you think?
I think you must learn to tolerate without being disturbed.
I know. I must hear this stuff every day, because my default is let the external affect me and be a slave to my mind, ride the roller coaster of ups and downs. It's getting old. I'm 54. How much longer am I going to let this mind control me? I'm going to let it go for a week more and then I'll be over it. Why not just cut it? Why not just train my mind?
You're getting there. You're doing it. That's what
I don't know if I'm doing it.
No, you're doing it.
I'm trying to do it. I don't know if I'm doing it. That's how I'm feeling today.
All right. Well, I have a feeling that once we start reading these verses, it's all that's just going to dissipate. It's just going to like fall to the wayside. You're going to be back.
Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam, where we're learning vocabulary, because it's going to dissipate today. If it wasn't for the Bhagavatam, that's definitely a Bhagavatam word.
Dissipate?
Don't you think? I mean, it's a word too, but that's when you hear dissipate the darkness. Anyway, we're here with our executive producer, Mara. If you got any questions for Question Day, which has officially become Saturday Question Day, you can email Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. If you want to get on our Zoom group, all those listening on conventional podcast methods, you can also email Mara. She will take your name, give you the secret Zoom code that we pass out, the secret to various cult members. They have to go through a cult ritual initiation. Then they get the Zoom code. Everybody here has a unique Wisdom of the Sages tattoo on their forehead. You cannot see it. But and then we will give you that Zoom code. And we put a chip in the back of your neck as well. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Since it's going nowhere fast, let's go into the Bhagavatam. So we start the Bhagavatam with this beautiful prayer to the Bhagavatam itself. It goes like this. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should first offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya, bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Oh, we had a nice Sweet Baby Krishna class yesterday. Kaustubha.
And what did you tell?
Well, we have a new format on Sweet Baby Krishna. If you're not familiar with Sweet Baby Krishna, it's for Patreon members. I've been giving teachings of Krishna's Leela pastimes in the evening Eastern time, that is. We also got a bunch of European fanatics who wake up at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something who do it too. It's fun to see them like in bed with an alarm clock set. But we did the story of the descent of Govardhan Hill from Goloka. And then we did so the first part is I tell a story. Oh, the first part is we do some prayers. So yesterday we did the Brahma Samhita. We chanted the Brahma Samhita and I put it up on the board.
The whole thing?
Yeah, we could do we did a bunch.
Okay.
We did a bunch, and we shared. I can share the screen on Zoom, so we can all look at the screen, and we chant it together. And then I did that story about the descent of Govardhan, and then I told the story of Dvivida Gorilla.
Okay.
Who we never realized he was the minister of Sugriva in Ram's pastimes.
Really?
You know that? Interesting little trivia for our Wisdom of the Sages trivia game we're going to create.
What was Dvivida Gorilla's job previously?
What was Dvivida Gorilla? Yeah, he was the minister for Sugriva. Good question.
Yeah. All right. So if people want to take part in Patreon programs, what are they to do, Raghunath?
Patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages, and you can join our. It's sort of a cult within a cult we're working on.
Why are you fixed on this cult thing today?
It's culture, man.
That's right.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, here we go. At the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhisthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men in the world, the royal and learned orders. This is like the, what do they call that summit they have in Germany? The royal learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord. So Bhishma was at that. That was the Rajasuya Yagya. It was sort of like a massive ritual declaring Yudhisthira the emperor. And now the person who's speaking here is Bhishma Dev, the grandfather, the grandsire, the leader of the Kuru house, the most respected, the Mahajan. He's leaving his body in front of all the great sages, and he's leaving his body in front of Lord Krishna. And he's remembering Krishna, who out of all the great kings, all the great sages, all the demigods that were present there, Krishna was receiving the first worship, or the Agra Puja, as the guest of honor. Like, he's exalted more than all of them. Now, the interesting thing about that ritual that was happening was that there were people that were there that didn't see Krishna for who he was. And they were incredibly frustrated. Why is he getting all the worship? Right? This is not fair. He's not even like a great king. Because in the material realm, Krishna had a very small kingdom. And it wasn't so impressive compared to all the massive warriors that were there, massive kings that were there. And Krishna wasn't the oldest. There were great sages, so to speak. On the material platform, he didn't appear as the oldest. There was Vyasadeva was there, and all these great sages, these elderly sages, the sons of Brahma. There was Lord Shiva was there. Lord Brahma was there. Like, why is this cowherd boy getting worshipped? And it was
intolerable to some of them.
It was intolerable. I think it's intolerable to people nowadays. Why do you worship Krishna? You know, I've had people say that. Why do you? Some people say, why? What kind of conception of God do you have? Your God is a thief. He's a butter thief. He's a philanderer. He has many girlfriends. How are we supposed to understand that to be moral? So this is Krishna's unique position. I had to make that explanation yesterday about Lord Balaram as well. Because Balaram also has a rasa dance. Balaram has a dance with so many gopis. And when that dance is a very, it's a conjugal, intimate relationship. And so when you read this from the material platform, you're reading, well, who's this guy with all these girlfriends? Why are we supposed to follow him? This is not cool. I'm trying to be a better self, and this guy's like a playboy. No, it's different. No. Krishna's not perverse.
Hold it right there.
Hold it right there. Pull the plug on this. Krishna's not perverse for having all these girlfriends. Krishna is the original center. We are all Krishna's girlfriends. He is the center, and we are all satellites around Krishna, and we're getting attracted to that beautiful force. That is the beauty of Krishna. That's the natural state of being. We are all spirit souls lost in the material world, and we're trying to connect to our higher power. Sometimes we call God the higher power. Sometimes we call it God or Allah or Jehovah or Buddha or Jesus or Krishna. But there is a force lifting us up that's constantly tapping us on the shoulder that's saying, upgrade your life, upgrade, right? And that is the force that's drawing us close. We are those gopis doing that dance with Krishna. That's the most normal thing. You know what's abnormal? You know what's perverse? You know what's crazy? Me thinking I'm the center. That's crazy. I'm the center.
Immoral.
Everybody, huh?
It's immoral.
I'm immoral. I want everybody to worship me, notice me, care for me. I'm having a hard day. That's the crazy stuff. That's the crazy stuff. My desire to be the center and to be worshiped. And if you don't like me, you're my enemy. That concept of friends and enemy, those who stroke my egos and those who don't, that is the real perverse. Not Krishna dancing in the rasa dance. That's very, very normal. So with material vision, I'm seeing Krishna, who's this guy? But in spiritual vision, and all these people have this, so many people there, Shiva had that vision. Brahmaji had that vision. People on the planet like Yudhisthira and Sahadev and grandfather Bhishma, they had that vision, and they thought, here's Krishna. Of course he deserves to be worshipped. That was Bhishma's argument too. He said, he's fit to be worshipped by the demigods. How dare you say that?
And you know that the next verse is also going to touch on one of the explanations, or you could say one of the arguments, but one of the points that's made to help people understand this. Krishna's dancing with all these girls. What's this all about?
What's it about?
And that is that Krishna is within the heart of every living being. He's already super intimately connected with every living being. So it's not that the same rules of morality that exist in our realm for the purpose of ourselves breaking our illusion is at all an issue for him. He's not in any illusion, and he's already intimately connected with every living being. The rasa dance where he's dancing with all these girls is just that they all realized it, and therefore they're capable of associating in such an intimate way. But he's already there within all of those girls and within everyone else for that matter.
He's not, if I fall into that illusion of I'm the center, I'm in massive illusion.
Right.
But that Krishna is not in that illusion. That is normal. Yeah. He is the center.
So you can't take the same laws and apply them that way.
The same metric that accounts to me as the center doesn't count for him. He's allowed that.
He's good.
He's good.
Text 42.
Text 42. Moving along.
This is a good one right here.
Now I can meditate with full concentration. So this is Bhishma. He's dying. He's on his deathbed. And he's fully lucid, seeing Krishna right in front of him. It's actually an incredible way to leave your body. Krishna is right in front of him. Now Lord Krishna is present before me because I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even the hearts of all mental speculators. When they speak of mental speculators, they're speaking of jnani yogis. He is in the heart. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. I want to give the Kaustubha purport on that. We call it the Kaustubha Bhasya.
There's a few things that really strike me here. There's a term here. It's the last two words, beta moha. So moha means
Illusion.
Yeah, to be illusion or to be bewildered by something. And beta, you should know this, Raghu. Beta.
Simultaneous.
Well, beta means difference.
Difference. Beta.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you're thinking of you're yeah, because there's this term.
One of those words.
Yeah, there's this term beta. So beta means like duality or there's a difference, and abeta means non-duality, there's no difference. So there's this term achintya beda abeda tattva. We don't have to go too far into it, but it means that it's a very clarifying understanding that God is simultaneously one with everything, but at the same time different. Beta, he's different, but abeta, he's the same. And so that helps us understand that like we are God's energy. We're made of God's energy, but at the same time, we're not God. So we're one with God. That's certainly true. But at the same time, there's a difference, because just as there's a difference between the sun and the sunlight, there's that sun, globe of the sun, which is the source of the sunlight. And there's the sunlight, which is the energy of the sun, and it has the same qualities of the sun, but one is the source and one is dependent on the other. So beta, abeta, same and different. So now, what Bhishma is saying here is he's saying, I understand something, and that understanding has facilitated my full concentration on the divine, right? And what I've understood is I've gone beyond this beta moha, this misunderstanding, this confusion, this illusion, based on seeing God as different from his energy. I understand now he's present in the heart, in everyone's heart. I get that really clearly. And he uses also the I believe the analogy of the sun, right? The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. So like you looked outside your window this morning, if it would have been a little later, you would have seen the sun, and there was like snow on the ground. Right. And so I'd imagine in your part of the world, yesterday was like cloudy. And so when you look up to the sun, you're not seeing like a powerful, brilliant sunlight. You just kind of have this, distorted perception of the sun. And then somewhere else in the world, that very same sun is appearing differently. Is appearing brilliant and strong, and the light is coming through, but it's the same sun. And so the sun is shining down on my head and your head and someone in Africa's head and someone in South America's head and someone in Europe's head. And it's shining down on all those heads, but it's being perceived differently in each one. But it's still the same sun. And so he's saying that Krishna is that divine source of all energy. And he's present in the heart of every living being. And that realization is facilitating my full concentration. And that's one subject, which I think we can come back to in a second. But there's also the idea of that he appears to me, because he's just been saying his prayers. He appears to me in my heart. I love him and meditate on him as Parthasarathi, as the chariot driver. And to the gopis who he just mentioned a verse or two ago, he appears as their lover, right? And to Arjuna, he appears as his friend. And to others, he appears in different ways. But he understands now, like his heart is fixed on Krishna as that chariot driver. And he understands that chariot driver is non-different from the lover of the gopis. is not different from the Vishnu who manifests, all the universes from his pores. Is not, he understands that person that he's focused on is not different from all the other manifestations, and that's facilitating his meditation. Yeah. So there's a lot to this verse, actually.
You have the eyes to see.
Yeah,
I was just burning through it, but
I
you're picking it apart because you have the ability to go deeper into it.
I just not
I
so
think
much.
that's your spiritual qualification, Kaustubha. That's why you're on the show. I'm just here for distractions and mundane entertainment.
No.
You have the ability to go deep.
You keep us
draw it
moving in the right
out,
direction.
dig deep.
But there's one thing that I would like to discuss a little bit here.
Please.
And for those that are on Patreon, I posted this one. Well, it's part 1 and part 2 of this course, A Sage of Steady Mind. And it was a course based on Bhagavad Gita. You can still read it there or listen to it there. But the idea that absorption is really what yoga is all about. It's about the capability, having the ability to deeply absorb the mind. And for yogis, generally, that was to absorb the mind in God. But our problem is that our mind is always distracted. And so therefore knowledge is provided so that we can understand. And that knowledge, it'll manifest if the knowledge is, if we're understanding it, then what it helps us overcome is, and this is quoted in the Gita several times, Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. It helps us overcome Raga, attachments, Bhaya, fear, and Krodha, anger. And if we can overcome those with our knowledge, I'm feeling angry. Why? Just like you were doing just earlier, like I woke up in this mood. Why? It doesn't make sense. I know better than this. Let me reflect on the knowledge that I have. And by reflecting on that knowledge, it gradually matures into what we can call wisdom. You with me?
It didn't happen yet, but yes, I'm with
No,
you.
but
I'm waiting for it to kick in.
Well, this is the point. We reflect on the knowledge, and through the course of, you see this, I'm going to read this verse, okay, right now, the Gita verse.
Yeah, please.
So this is verse 410 from the Bhagavad Gita. Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger. Now, once you're free from attachment, fear, and anger, that means you have the ability to do what? To absorb your mind. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me. That's where Bhishma is right now. He's fully absorbed in Krishna. And taking refuge in me. Many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. And thus they all attained transcendental love from me, which is the very goal, prema. So this being purified by knowledge is there on 2 levels. Knowledge is there as theoretical. I've heard something, it makes sense to me. I appreciate that. I even accept that. But then there's what's called vijnana, or realized knowledge, where that knowledge has become fully integrated into my understanding. I see the world through that knowledge. And that vijnana means I'm free. I may have the knowledge and still, like just the theoretical knowledge, but I'm still having my attachments. I have my fears. I become angry. But by doing exactly what you were doing earlier, by reflecting on that knowledge 1 time, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, however many times it takes, we begin to purify the mind. The mind begins to accept that theoretical knowledge as truth. And we begin to see the world through those eyes. And that's called vijnana. That's called wisdom. And on the level of wisdom, not only are you free from your attachments and your fears and anger, you're no longer controlled by the mind in that way, but also you begin to see God everywhere. What wasn't apparent earlier is like, oh, I see it everywhere because my mind's not disturbed anymore. Like I can see more deeply what's there. I can see that God is within the heart of this person, and in this person, in this animal, in this tree. I see God, present as the sun.
What's the active process to let go of fear, let go of anger? What if I'm angry?
We see
an angry person.
Well, right here it says, here it is.
I have to
Jnana
consciously
tapasa.
think about it today.
Well, this is here. This jnana tapasa. This is the phrase taken from the verse that I'm reading. Tapasa means austerity, but it also means like heat or fire, right?
Right.
And so jnana tapasa means like there's this fire of knowledge. So what is that fire of knowledge? How do we apply that? How do we stoke that fire? Or, apply that fire? It's through reflection. It's taking the first step is that we hear. So we read Bhagavad Gita. We read Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear from these valid sources of Vedic truth. And then we begin to meditate on that. We reflect on it, particularly as we go through our challenges in life. Like I wake up this morning and I'm feeling down. I'm looking outside. I don't like the weather. Let me reflect. Let me reflect on what I've heard. And in that way, we're applying that Gyan-anjana, right? That balm of knowledge. Or here we're saying Jnana tapasa, that fire of knowledge. And we're putting ourselves in that fire, just like you purify metals by putting them in fire. You can purify gold and get, a pure.
Good analogy. Great analogy.
So by reflecting on the knowledge that we've heard, it's like putting our mind into the fire of knowledge, and it purifies it until we become free of attachment, become free of fear, become free of anger. And then we're capable of seeing God everywhere. I think there we go. And we need to and we can become absorbed. We can actually absorb the mind deeply. And when we get to that point, the whole yoga thing takes off big time, and the result in Bhakti-yoga is it ends in transcendental love.
So my back bends will get better. Is that what you're saying?
And no, your back bend may never get better, but it won't matter.
You said my yoga thing will take off.
Not that yoga thing.
Wait a second. Am I in the wrong yoga class?
Maybe your back bend will get better. I'm not making any promises, but.
Yeah. All right.
Should we read the commentary?
Yes. Although that was a pretty good commentary. I'm ready for the Kaustubha commentaries on the Bhagavatam.
If you want to go deeper, just what I just said in a few minutes, that whole course, the Sage of Steady Mind, that's what it's all about, just that right there. It's in 2 parts. It's on Patreon.
That's on Patreon. Okay. That's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Lord Sri Krishna is the one absolute personality of Godhead, but he has expanded himself into multiplenary portions. I just found out that this word plenary means, I think it means in full.
Yeah, in full. It's like, it's
one of those words I've said and read and never what does plenary mean?
Yeah.
Means fully
full powers there.
Full powered. Yeah. A multiplenary. That's inconceivable. His multiplenary portions by his inconceivable energy. This conception of duality. I just said it. This conception of duality due to ignorance of his. The conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. In the Gita 9:11, the Lord says, "Only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies." By his inconceivable energies, he's present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone all over the world. Such simple lessons here. It's like, you can get very, very philosophical, but here's very simple. God is in everyone's heart. Only a fool will think, well, God's only in the hearts of the saintly people. God's only in the heart of just my religious tradition. God's only in the heart of people, the Hindus. God's only in the heart of Islam. It's just like short-sighted. Divinity is in everyone's heart. That is the appropriate, natural, default lens of the spirit soul. How will that change the way I behave in this world? If I really understand that, how will that change the way I behave in the world? How will that change the way I treat people in this world? If I understand that God is in the heart of even people that are not like me, and even people that my political party hates, or even people, right? or even people that are in different religion. I don't like that religion. Right? It's amazing. God is in everyone's heart. It's that simple. There's no concept of, I will convert that person to what? They already have God in their heart. And so our yoga practice, we like to say this, is it's not about converting. It's about remembering. This is the idea of Sanatan Dharma, or the Dharma of the eternal soul, is everybody's a spirit soul. We just forgot. And this is actually what's actually taught in the Vedas. That's why if someone came up to some Hindu and they said, "Will you mind putting a picture of Christ in your church or in your temple?" Most Indians would not have a problem putting a picture of Christ on the altar. And matter of fact, there's a famous, maybe Aravind or Prabhoz or Aditi can say, there's a famous song, a Hindi bhajan, that is something like, Ishwara is Allah and Allah is Ishwara. If you know the name of that song, or you can get a YouTube link for that, can you please put it on the chat board? But the idea is there's one supreme, and then there's jivas, spirit souls. And the jivas, in their ignorance, in their coverings, there's a gross, Allah Ishwara Teranam, Aravind says, right? That's the name of the song. So it's one of these things, like the jiva, the pure spirit, is covered by layers of matter. And layers of matter immediately fall into illusion and start to think, I'm a male, I'm white, I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican. And these are all illusions according to the external vision. We are saying a lot of these people who are seeing Bhishma dying, or who saw Krishna on the battlefield, were seeing with that external vision. This is just some guy, some coward boy, some prince from a small kingdom. No. The spiritual vision is, we are spiritual beings and we're covered by illusion. And our job isn't to join some church or ashram or mosque. That's not going to help, or wear a different robe or get a different spiritual haircut. Our job is to remember our identity. And that's what we're doing by hearing the Bhagavatam on a regular basis. It's constantly chipping away at the false identities. Now, sometimes you have to dip into a temporary identity. I dip into the fact that Dad's got to make breakfast today, or I dip into I'm a husband, or I dip into I'm a son of my mother. I dip into a political position I might be in, or in the workplace. But in the forefront of my mind, I realize I actually have a different identity. And this is what we ask, and the Bhagavatam asks of us: in the forefront of your mind, always remember your real identity. Because it gets swept away just by our temporary identity. And this is what the Bhagavatam is here to recalibrate our intelligence every morning. Recalibrate our intelligence every morning. Who am I? And to the degree that I act as a spirit soul, guess what? I'm happier. I'm happier in this world. I've been trying to find happiness in matter. I'll only be happy if it's a sunny day, right? I'll only be happy if everything is going right. I'll only be happy if everything's if I'm healthy and strong, right? And we're learning this samadhi, or this equanimity between happiness and distress, which I've completely failed today. I'm just putting that out there. But this is our training. And I have to train the mind. And even though it seems like, well, Raghu, you've been into this for a while. Why didn't it click in yet? Because I've been into illusion for much longer. I've been into illusion for lifetimes. Do you ever get to that age, Kaustubha, where you're like, wow, I've been practicing Bhakti-yoga in this lifetime longer than I was not practicing Bhakti-yoga?
I got to that age a while ago.
I know. So when we were 21, 22, we got into Bhakti, and now we're 54. So we went over the other side. But the problem is we're eternal. So we really didn't get there yet.
Because maybe much longer way to go.
A long time before it evens out. I got lifetimes more to go practicing Bhakti than being an illusion.
But you said that spiritual vision makes you happier.
It makes you happier because that's what I am. I try to find happiness in the material world. Can't happen. I can find some fun. Material world's fun. I can do fun, crazy things. There's various fun things depending on your desires and tastes.
You remember the old fish out of water analogy?
Fish out of water. How do you make a fish happy? I took this big salmon out of the river and I took it out to dinner. The salmon wasn't happy. I went to a really nice restaurant. Salmon wasn't happy. So then I said, come on, I'll go to the movies. Sat down in a nice movie theater, really cool movie. Fish wasn't happy. He just flapped around a little bit. Then I took him to a bar afterwards. It was really awkward going into a bar with a giant salmon, but I did it. We liquored the fish up. Wasn't happy. Then we went on a vacation, just me and the fish.
Okay.
It was very romantic. Me and that.
I never heard the fish.
You never heard the analogy like this?
Told quite like this, but this
is called Raghu taking the analogy and diving deep with it.
No, it's good.
And we did something really nice. We went to Big Sur. Me and that fish. It was very beautiful. What?
Didn't work?
Yeah. Very beautiful. Went to the Grand Canyon with that fish. Hiked down. Went down on mules.
What about, did you find the fish a soulmate?
The fish was looking desperately for the soulmate. Couldn't find one. But you know when that fish did get happy, Kaustubha, is really interesting. No matter what I did with this fish, and we had fine restaurants, fine films, took the fish to Broadway, went on exotic adventures with this fish. You want to hear something weird?
I just can't understand how the fish was not happy.
We were flying first class, man. I wasn't just dragging this fish on coach. He could relax completely.
But it was doing all those great things. It still wasn't happy?
No, he wasn't happy. You know what made that fish happy? And this is going to sound weird because it's not so complicated. The fish got happy when I put him back in the water. Isn't that weird?
Really?
That's all he wanted. He wanted to go back in the water. He didn't care about flying first class. Really? How many things have I done to make myself blissful? And it really boils down to, as soon as I do that crazy, cool thing, it really boils down to, big deal. The material world, even the coolest stuff is like, big deal. You know what they do now, Kaustubha? They get to a ledge of a cliff and they put on a suit where you can just go like this with your suit. You hold that suit out and they
squirrel
dive.
Thing.
What's it called again? Squirrel diving?
Squirrel suit or something.
Bat suits. And they just dive off a cliff. And they have a camera on their head. Everyone's filming everything. Can we just live and not film stuff anymore? I've got to film my entire life so I can. When am I going to see that film? So I'm going to dive off that cliff, and I'm going to skim off trees, just making it. And after you do it once, like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And then you do it twice, and then after you've done that 25 times, it still becomes a big deal. Big deal.
How many times you have to? Oh, it becomes. You're saying that sarcastically.
That's the thing about material life. The Bhagavatam, not me. The Bhagavatam compares it to chewing that which has already been chewed. Meaning, you chew some gum, pretty good, tastes good. All of a sudden, that gum's got no flavor. This is what my kids do when they were little. They chew the gum, and then when they're done with the gum, they take it out of their mouth and say, "Dad, you want my gum?" I was like, "Your gum's got no flavor anymore." If you chew that which has already been chewed, eventually it has no flavor. Material life has that effect. After you've done the cool thing, right? Have you ever done that? You've gone to like the Colosseum. I went to Rome. I saw the Colosseum. The bucket list. I go there and all of a sudden, all right, now what do I do in the Colosseum? Take a picture of me in the front of the Colosseum doing Warrior 2. I'm going to do a handstand in front of the Colosseum. Come on.
It's a simple analogy, but it's a strong one. Not just the fish, but the chewing the chewed. It's like, I think like more traditionally, it'd be like you chewed like a cane of sugar cane, right?
I guess that's the chewing, which is, I guess I use gum. Gum is a good analogy.
Gum works too.
Gum ends quick, and then it's like, I'm just chewing.
Yeah.
That's the
but with gum, people, I think they chew it just out of nervous kind of energy. But once you've chewed that sugar cane, there's no point in chewing that thing anymore. It's just like, it's obvious it's done.
Right. It's over.
Why keep chewing it? And that's the nature of material enjoyment. It can seem real exciting in the beginning. In the end,
big deal.
It doesn't satisfy.
Right.
So what's getting back in the water then? In this analogy for us, if we're that fish flapping, we try this, we flap, we try that, we flap.
Our spiritual life is where we belong. That's why people do such crazy things like wake up at 5 a.m. to sit around and talk about and have discussions about stuff like this. You know, one of our ongoing jokes when we go to India is, you know, we're going to India, we're doing our teacher training, we're on pilgrimage, and we're same thing. We're waking up at early 5 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. We're sitting and we're chanting, or we're singing, or we're telling these stories, or sometimes we're bathing in the Ganges. It's freezing out, and we're like, why would you? And a lot of our friends at home or parents are saying, why would you spend time, get off work, spend resources? You know, they'd have to pay me to go to India, to go on my vacation days, to wake up early. Usually vacation means I'm going to overeat and I'm going to sleep in. That's vacation a lot of times. I'm going to go on a cruise, all you can eat. But it makes no material sense, but it makes spiritual sense. And it's actually food for the soul. And when you like imbibe the information, then it's not like you even have to change so much of your activities. Oftentimes you just have to change the consciousness of your activities. And then of course we start to realize maybe there are some activities that have to change, because as we say in the West, you are what you eat. Well, what am I eating? What am I eating? If I want to minimize pain because I'm seeing suffering caused to living beings, I want to minimize the pain. So I'm going to change what I eat so I can minimize pain. You know why? Because I'm not the center. I don't want to be hurt. And so I'm going to try to minimize pain. Then I realize I am what I consume through my ears as well. And I'm creating myself by what I'm eating. All right, so I'm going to change what I put in my ears. Because I want to feed my consciousness with healthy thoughts, because there's junk food and there's junk thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And then there's superfood, super thoughts, right? So this whole idea of you are what you eat, you are what you consume, and then all of a sudden you get to this big one. This is the biggie.
What's that?
You are who you hang out with on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, like, I'm taking people into my consciousness when I hang out with them. Who am I hanging out with? What are they talking about? What's coming out of their mouth? Are they critical? Are they nasty? Are they cruel? Are they rude? Or are they enlightening? Are they deep? Do they help me? Do they bring the best out in me? Then we start to, this is the real definition of yogi. Can I be very careful what I consume through all my senses? Because I'm becoming like that. So a yogi has this sort of like valve, like, okay, this is in, this is in, this is in, this is out. This is out. So in one sense, yes, I do. I don't have to do anything different. In another sense, I have to do sometimes a lot of things differently. You don't give up music, say, but sometimes you got to be careful about the vibrations, because there's sound vibrations or even lyrics that bring out some anger or hate or violence. There's music that's violent. You know, there's music that's cruel, or there's music that's lyrics that are degrading.
Yeah.
You know, so I want stuff that brings me up and not brings me down. So this is the how to apply, how to enter back into the water. I start wanting to feed the soul with things that are going to upgrade instead of defile.
Nice. I once heard an interview with Placido Domingo, the opera singer.
Really?
Yes.
Do you subscribe to opera fanzines? Are you an opera fan?
I think it was on, no, I'm definitely not an opera fan. But I think it was on 60 Minutes.
Okay.
And he said that he made this statement. They asked him like about good music. What is good music? And he said, if somebody likes it, it's good music, you know? If there's somebody out there that likes it, it's good music. Now, and I thought, you know, on one hand, that sounds like for a person like him, who's like, such a refined artist, it's a very generous statement for him to make, right? You might expect for him to kind of limit what he would accept as good music. And so I appreciated his spirit of generosity in saying that. But at the same time, what I thought is, well, just because someone likes it doesn't mean that it's like, say, good for them. Right. It doesn't mean, so like, is any food good? Well, if someone likes it, it's good food. Well,
A lot of people like McDonald's French fries.
yeah.
It's good food.
Yeah. So I thought what he said was, I appreciate it on one level, but if you're going to ask me that question, I would say, it's, well, good music is music that uplifts you, that improves you, that brings you to reality, that brings you to happiness, that brings you to enlightenment, that brings you to the divine, that brings you to God. That would be good music. And music that is steering me away from that, well, then that's what, as you're saying here, the yogi's being careful about that.
Right. Yeah. We have a different metric of what is good.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I like it, it's good. Because there's a lot of things in the material world that are, I was talking to my daughter yesterday about meat. So she's never eaten meat her life, but I grew up in an Italian family. And she was asking me like, oh, what do you, about meat? And, did you eat meat? And what was it like to eat meat and stuff like that? And I said, you know what? I like meat. I like to eat meat. But I got to a point where I just didn't want to do it anymore because I just felt it was wrong in my heart. It wasn't because I didn't like it, just because I didn't want to partake in the culture of it and partake in all the back end that goes into the meat industry. And so, I said, sometimes you have to let go of things that you like to do because you feel like there's a better reason not to do it. There's maybe an internal cause that you feel like you're gonna benefit from by not doing it, or you feel like it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna hurt my desires, but there's a higher reason that I don't want to do it. So yeah, we have a different idea of what good is, and it doesn't mean because it feels good or it tastes good. We have to have a different standard, so to speak.
And then there's another interesting analogy, and that is the one about jaundice, right?
Well, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, that these spiritual, someone may say, okay, you know what? I'm buying into all of that you're saying right now. I think it's important that I be careful what I consume. And I want to be the fish going back into the water. And you're telling me that being back in the water is really connecting to spiritual life. So let me start to consume, let my mind begin to consume spiritual food, spiritual content. But sometimes when I do that, I don't get the same thrill. I don't get the same happiness. I don't get the same satisfaction as when I'm engaging my mind in the material stuff.
Yeah. If you meet people coming out of addiction, sometimes some of the students I deal with are recovery and things like that. And when they come out of addiction, there's a jonesing for that substance again. How can I give this up? How can I give this up? It's like, I need this. I mean, who needs heroin? Who needs alcohol? Who needs, so you don't need it. We're just incredibly addicted. Please continue. I just had to jump in.
No. So I'm trying to practice it. Like, for instance, the chanting or the rising or whatever it might be, I'm trying it, but my mind and my senses are calling me back to those material things, back to that material content, back to that, in a sense, junk food, right? Why isn't it that when I try to consume the spiritual stuff, I'm not, I have no taste for it. Even if it may taste bitter, And so then the analogy is given that when you're in a disease condition, now there's a disease, jaundice, which is a type of hepatitis. And have you ever seen anyone with jaundice?
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. They're yellow. Their whole body looks yellow. Paramananda had it once.
Really?
Yeah, your tongue gets all yellow and you can't taste anything.
Is Paramananda here? I'd be
Yeah.
interested to hear about that.
He turned yellow. Well, he went to the mystical jaundice doctor.
Okay.
Guy who beats you with a peacock feather. It's by the way, getting beaten with a peacock feather is a very, very common remedy in India with these mystics, because they do mantras and then do the whipping of the peacock feather in the head. Have you ever had that done to you?
I have not had that done.
Sometimes for healing and sometimes for spiritual benedictions. It's like a regular beating of the peacock feather.
So it's said that when you have jaundice, one of the symptoms is that sweet things taste very bitter.
Everything tastes bitter. Everything you put in your mouth is like you're repulsed by it.
Yeah, and I think particularly sweet things. And so, but the cure is to eat this, like that rock candy, that sugar rock candy.
Yeah. And rock candy is a type of, it's also considered a medicine.
A medicine, yeah.
Natural sugar. And
yeah. So when you eat that sugar in the jaundice condition, it tastes totally bitter. You're like, I don't like it. But you keep eating it and you keep eating it. And even though it tastes bitter, it's curing you. And when it starts to taste sweet, then you're cured. And so similarly, these spiritual practices, I mean, quite frankly, when it comes to bhakti yoga, so much of the spiritual practice is immediately satisfying and nice.
Immediately sweet.
But say aspects of the practice aren't, and they seem bitter at first. There's no we're not deriving any satisfaction out of them, or even it's kind of austere to engage in.
I got to wake up early and do this. You want me to chant on these beads? It's like,
Yeah,
that's
the analogy is specifically given in terms of chanting, like that, meditating on the mantra. That it may seem like I'm not getting in. There's no juice in this mantra, but if you keep at it, it's the cure itself, and then it begins to taste sweet. It begins to taste sweet.
Can I tell you my modern analogy of that same thing?
Yeah,
I never use that analogy anymore because I feel like none of us have had jaundice, basically, and
Okay.
none of us have eaten sugar candy. It's like it's not like an American thing. Sugar
so
candy.
you've updated it.
I've updated it. Here's what I say, and I make it really crude because we're crude Americans.
All right.
Imagine if you're driving down the street, and you're coming to a stop sign, and you see a person addicted to heroin. And so you and me have met many heroin addicts in our days on the Lower East Side. And it's such a sad situation where the people, they're like standing almost like zombies. And you almost I want to help you, man. And it's like, I remember waking up like 5 a.m, going jogging or something. And there they are just standing outside my door in the Lower East Side. And I want to say, hey, and you could tell the guy looked like he had a nice set of clothes on, but he looks like he's been wearing that clothes for 6 days. And you want to speak to him, you want to reach out to them. But if you were to offer that person, hey man, let me take you out for breakfast. And I know a great organic cafe. We can go get a smoothie with some superfoods, get some organic figs. What do you think the heroin addict is going to say?
Just give me some money so I can go get my heroin.
Yeah, they're not going to say, oh, organic figs, great. All I've been getting is these conventional figs they're sprayed and they have. No, he doesn't care about organic figs. They want heroin. So when a person is in such a dark tamasic state, even healthy figs, a beautiful superfood smoothie, it's no longer attractive. They're attracted to things that are going to ruin their life, ruin their family, ruin their business, get their kids taken away from them, get them in prison and kill them. That's the problem with the disease condition. So we are in that disease condition. Then we extend it, say we are actually also, even though you might be fit and healthy and drink those smoothies, we get into a disease condition in the material world where if the guru or the teachers or the sacred literature says, okay, try this now, apply this. And what is my attachment? My attachment is to my ego. My attachment is to my stuff. My attachment is me in the center. And then the guru says, no, you have to let go of that. It's painful. And we can't understand a higher taste. We can't understand that there is something even sweeter. So this is the practice. And this is why those who do get a taste for this, to a materialist, it makes no sense. Every year I go to India, twice a year. And every year my family goes, really? You're going there again? Why there?
Like
Why
your
not?
extended family.
My family, not my kids and wife, but my, my mom and my brothers. Oh, really? You're gonna go back to India again? Why not go anywhere else? Have you been to Fiji? Have you been to Fiji yet? Or have you been to, Iceland? Or have you been why India? You've already been there. You've already done that. because it's no longer just wanderlust. We don't want to go wide. We want to go deep. And people who get really into bhakti, like we do pilgrimages all over India. There's a lot of holy places in India, but oftentimes we end up going the same places, Kaustubha, right? We just go right into, I want to get into, go deep into Braj Bhakti. We go to Vrindavan, we go to Mayapur, we go to Puri, all these places that we fall in love with, and we can go deep in those. It's the same thing, but we go deeper instead of wider. The wanderlust, the romance of the material world shatters, and we're just left with some substance.
I've just jumped right back in the water.
I guess this is a big extension from that fish analogy, which is good.
That fish analogy is a strong one.
It's a strong analogy. I don't know if Prabhupada made that analogy up, but all right. Guess what, my friend?
We're out of time.
We're out of time. Time flies when you read the Bhagavatam and telling stories.
TK had a song, Fish Out of Water, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Krishna
Fish out of water. It was sort of like a blues.
Yeah, bluesy one.
If you're listening to our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, welcome, and make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can do that right from your iPhone. Go there, say something. It really helps our rankings, and we appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for supporting the show through Patreon.
Hey, one other
/Wisdom of the Sages. Yes, Prabhu.
We got Jaundice Harrison coming on this Sunday.
This Sunday, special guest, Jaundice Harrison. A lot of you already know her. She's a great, I want to say up and coming, but she's already up. She's a huge kirtan singer throughout the world. What we love about her is she's just got the heart of a devotee. She's incredibly humble, incredibly serious and focused about her spiritual life. So
She's not a dented can.
Huh?
She's an undented can.
She's an undented can. She grew up in a very spiritual family. Yeah, those undented cans, I get a little angry at them too. I'm a little envious and jealous of those dented cans. Everybody say a prayer for me that I have a good day today. Please help me transcend my mind. And now.
This is going to make all the difference right now, Robin.
Here, this is going to help me get right out of my mind right now. This is the end. You can't see this if you're listening to on a podcast. That's why you got to get on Zoom so you can just dance with us. Sometimes I don't want to dance. Ever go to a kirtan and you don't want to dance and you're just sitting cool and everybody's dancing around you and you're just like, no, I'm just going to sit here. And then some idiot grabs you and throws you in that kirtan. I'm that idiot. Now I'm doing it to myself.